Hello, I'm Charlotte and this is Books and Bargains. Today I've got for you my vlog style wrap up for July and August. So this one is going to be rather long. In July I wasn't really up to filming, but I knew that I'd regret it if I didn't do these kind of snap judgments of books that I do. I find that when I look back on books a month or so later, some of them blend in together, some still really stand out. But yeah, I enjoy doing the vlog style wrap-ups and you guys seem to enjoy them too. As you're watching this video, I have started my backlist book club, which is the Cozy Blanket book club over on Patreon. And I just wanted to share with you a spotlight on my favourite book of July and my favourite book of August. So if you are Victoria, or if you are someone that has been telling me to read this book for ages, this will come as no surprise. My favourite book of July was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I think that this currently will be my favourite book of the year, which is a bold claim there, but it was just everything I wanted in a book. It totally lived up to the hype. I have a really battered copy, so I'm going to be looking out for a copy of my own. And yeah, I loved it. I finished reading it and I wanted to start rereading it straight away. And that doesn't happen very often at all with books for me. So that was my favourite book of July. And then speaking of Victoria, when we went to Oxford, if you haven't seen the vlog, I will link it above. Victoria kindly gifted me The Appeal by Janice Hallett, and I love this. Like, it's like nothing I've ever read before. It's told in a mixed media format. We see text, we see everything basically that helps you decide who you think the killer is. You know from the start that somebody's been killed and somebody's in jail. And I just thought it was such a clever book. I think that this one is always going to kind of sit warm in my heart as well, because I have such wonderful memories of being in Oxford with Victoria and reading this at night. So yeah, those are my favourite book of July and favourite book of August. Now let's get into the wrap up. So it's the 8th of July and I have just finished my first book for this month. Now this book, people have been telling me for ages to read this book, and I've only read one other book by the author and loved it. However, I didn't think this was going to live up to the hype. I thought I was going to be disappointed because so many people had told me to read it, but actually it totally lived up to the hype. So that's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this book is a historical fiction, and it's about sexuality, it's about how the media portrays women, it's about love, it's about family. And this epic little book I have read this week while I'm on holiday, and just, like I say, I've literally just finished it and my heart is broken. This is definitely a 5-star read for me because I have just finished it and want to start again and read it all over again, and that's how I know that something is a 5-star straight away. Some books I don't finish on a 5-star, but because I'm still thinking about them weeks later. But no, this one, amazing. I am going to look out for a better copy of this one because, as you can see, this one is battered. But yeah, 5-star, loved it. It is now the 11th of July, I believe, and I have just finished reading this book after only buying it 2 days ago. You know by now that I don't generally buy hardbacks, but when I saw Clare Mackintosh, who is one of my favourite authors, for £6 in Sainsbury's, had to get it.
I don't read synopsis of Clare Mackintosh anymore. I just read these things on the back, and it said it's 20 hours to landing. Anything can happen in 20 hours. And what do I say about this book? It had everything to make the perfect thriller. It had the closed-in setting. It had the kind of not knowing who some of the characters were. It had moral dilemmas. It just had everything. And so this book is getting a 5-star. Good morning. It is the 14th of July and I've been feeling a bit slumpy with my reading this month. And I'm not sure why. I think when we were on holiday, I'd planned to read more than I did because we had Nana with us. How many times I've said this on this channel, who knows? Anyway, I have just finished reading Afterlove by Tanya Byrne. I started this as a NetGalley arc, so thank you to the publishers for sending it me. But I basically pre-ordered it months ago because just look at that cover. That is a stunning cover. So I think I'm going for a 4-star with this one. I had this really hyped in my head that it was going to be a 5-star, and firstly in the NetGalley arc, I don't know if it's changed now because I have had the NetGalley arc for it was out on NetGalley, oh god, over a year ago. So there are quite a few Harry Potter references in this, which any new book written in the past kind of year or two loses a star for me if it has lots of Harry Potter references. But I don't know if they've been taken out the finished copy. I did have a skim through, but yeah, I don't know for sure. But this is split into 2 parts, and I kind of think there's something on the back which I kind of see as a spoiler, so if you want to know it, read it. But basically imagine a YA version of Ghost with lesbians, and the last 10% was a complete 5-star. Tanya Byrne has just this beautiful way of writing, and yeah, I am gonna hopefully reread this again because I think I found the first half quite slow. I think there was a lot that didn't need to be there, but I don't know whether that's just because I'd got such high expectations and I was like waiting for the thing it says on the back to happen, whereas now I know that that comes a lot later in. I think if I read it again, do you get what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna leave that as a 4-star. It is the 20th of July and the UK is currently in a heat wave, so I am in front of the fan, not doing much else. Finished a couple of books in the last couple of days though that I wanted to share with you. I'm in a bit of a reading slump. I am gonna now, this afternoon, get my head down and see if I can do some reading. But first of all, I read these 2 Little People Big World books. I read Coco Chanel and Marie Curie and just loved them both. They're both such gorgeous little books and cannot wait to collect more. And switching arms, because I am a total weakling, I read Unnatural Causes by Dr. Richard Shepherd. I actually listened to the audiobook of this while reading along, and this book, I'm a little bit fascinated with death anyway. I'm giving this a 5-star because it just explored everything that I've wondered. It talks through post-mortems. He's a forensic pathologist, so in cases there's a big bit on sudden infant death syndrome versus abuse. There's a lot about natural disasters. There's just a lot that I didn't learn, and also there's a real theme of Dr. Shepherd's health himself throughout it, which I thought was really great to hear. So I would definitely recommend that if you're not too squeamish. So it is the 29th of July now, and I am in the biggest reading slump I have ever been in, and it's not to do with the books that I'm reading, because I am looking over at the pile over there and I've read 3 5-star books and a 3-star book this month, but I'm just in a really weird mental health space. I think as you're watching this, I have possibly just come back from a filming break, but I still wanted to do these vlog style wrap-ups, so I thought I'm going to keep filming every time I finish a book, and we'll just see when I put it together. I don't know if I've got an actual moustache there, or it's just the lighting, but anyway. I've just finished Relish by Lucy Knisley, and this is my life in the kitchen, and this is gorgeous. Firstly, the art style is beautiful, but as you know, I'm a real foodie, so reading this and all through Lucy's life, how food has affected her relationships, etc., was wonderful. I would definitely recommend picking that up, along with, I mean, if you wanted to do a present for a foodie, I reckon a copy of Hungry Hearts and this, perfect. Hello. So it is the 8th of August today. I think I've just looked back, and this will be the first time I've filmed since the 29th of July, which is actually shorter than it feels. But yesterday I finished 2 books, so finally think I'm breaking out of the reading slump that I've been in. So the first book that I finished was Exit by Belinda Bauer, and I thought that this was going to be amazing. Everybody else on Goodreads seems to have given it at least a 4-star. I ended up giving it a 2-star, more like a 2.5 for me. So I kind of felt like the book was all over the place. I really like the premise of it. So the premise is that there is a group called the Exiteers who are they're a group that help with euthanasia. They themselves won't help somebody die by suicide, but they will tell them where to get nitrous oxide from, and they will be there and sit with them so they don't die alone. I think I've talked about here before, I have very strong feelings with euthanasia and things like that, so I thought it was going to be right up my street. Plus points of this book were that Felix as a character was beautifully written, but it just jumped between all these themes, and I just felt like it didn't know where it was going. And it was the kind of thriller to me that I felt like the author just put in twist after twist after twist just for the sake of it. And I think sometimes the twist just didn't make sense, so it really lost much of its appeal for me. So like I say, I gave that a 2.5 star. And then a book that I gave a 4-star to was The Mismatch by Sara Jafari. Now, I've seen a few people on Goodreads say that they DNF this one because of the first kind of part. I would say this is marketed as a romance, but I actually feel like I don't know, it almost doesn't need the romance, which sounds really weird seeing as that is the main plot of the story. But this book is about Soraya, who is an Iranian girl, an English Iranian girl, and she's Muslim, and she meets Magnus at university and decides to kind of use him to see what it would be like to kiss him. She knows that he has slept with lots of girls, and although she is quite liberal in a lot of her thoughts, she still has this Muslim guilt over dating a white guy. Her older sister Layla was disowned from the family for the same thing, so she has a lot of conflicting things in her head about that. And there's this big, what's the word I'm looking for? There's kind of tension in the household between Soraya and her dad. And this book doesn't just follow Soraya's story, it also follows her mum Nida. And Nida was born and raised in Iran and moved to England to do her PhD along with her husband Hussein. And I just thought this was a fantastic book about kind of microaggressions and racism, but through the lens of these two very different generations in the family. This is Sara Jafari's debut novel, and I think that although, like I say, I think the angle of it being through their relationship and that being the kind of selling point did this book such a disservice, because like I say, I wasn't that keen on the storyline with Soraya and Magnus, but actually Soraya and her family, Soraya and her friends, and especially Nida's storyline. Nida's storyline would have got a 5-star on its own. I really, really loved getting to know her and getting to know the family. I will definitely be looking out for Sara Jafari's next book, and yeah, this was sent to me for a blog tour, so I did put a thoughts so far on my Instagram. That was last month. That was when I was at the caravan, and it just took me so long to get through the first part because it didn't grip me. But once I was into this, I was head over heels into it, so I would definitely recommend picking that book up. Good morning. It is the 12th of August, and this week I have finished 2 5-star books. If the vlog is already up, I will link it above. I never know which side it is when I'm filming. But I spent the last 3 days in Oxford with Victoria. I am shattered. We basically just spent a lot of money on food and books, and it was perfect. If you follow me on Instagram, you will know that we were in bed by about 9:30 each night, and that is why she is my person. Anyway, talking about Victoria, she sent me both of these books. So the first one I finished, I was actually listening along with the audiobook and finished this on my coach down to Oxford. And that is Natasha Devon's A Beginner's Guide to Being Mental, an A to Z from anxiety to zero given. I don't know where to start with this one. Me and Victoria had a conversation about this in Oxford, about how the word mental, when we were growing up, was something that was really a derogatory term, and we were talking about how this book kind of feels like how the queer community have regained the word of queer. This made me feel that same way about the word mental. I have never related so much to a non-fiction about mental health, and it isn't just so, like, she talks through how your brain works and things, and for me as a big science geek, actually getting down into the nitty-gritty of things like that really helped. There's a lot of things like that, and Natasha Devon is not afraid to pull any punches. And if you're someone that has mental health, actually, do you know what, everybody should read this. If you have mental health issues yourself, it will be a really big eye-opener for you. But also, if you support someone with mental health, especially teenagers and young people, I really think that this will just give you that knowledge base to go from. So yeah, book that everybody should pick up. And another book that I think everybody should pick up, because this was so clever. I literally have read this within 48 hours. And if I hadn't have been so tired from all the walking and carrying books, I reckon I'd have finished this even quicker. But that is The Appeal by Janice Hallett, and this is a fantastic debut. I wasn't sure if this was going to be living up to the hype. I have heard everybody and their dog talk about this book. So when Victoria was reading it and said, "You have to read this," I had said to her, "Okay, I'm going to buy that when we're in Oxford." And she very kindly gifted it to me because she's the best. And yeah, this book is just so clever. I don't want to say anything that will give it away, but let me just read you the back of it. It says, there is a mystery to solve in the small town of Lockwood. It starts with the arrival of 2 secretive newcomers and ends with a tragic death. Roderick Tanner QC has assigned law students Charlotte and Femi to the case. Someone has already been sent to prison for murder, but he suspects that they are innocent, and that far darker secrets have yet to be revealed. Throughout the Amateur Dramatic Society's disastrous staging of All My Sons and the shady charity appeal for a little girl's medical treatment, the murderer hid in plain sight. Will Charlotte and Femi solve the case? Will you? And I think this is really clever, because I've read quite a few thrillers now where my brain just tries to work out what's going on as I'm reading it, whereas this one, it gives you the tools to do that. You're given emails, you're given just all these bits of evidence, and you have to try and work out what's going on. and it's so British. One of my favourite lines from this, which I can tell you without spoiler, is "Get the urn on, Joyce, we've got a lot to talk about." And there's just, reading this while Victoria was sat in the room, every few pages I would laugh and I'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe that they've just said that, or I can't believe. And it, yeah, if you appreciate good British humour, I would definitely pick this one up. So 2 5-star reads this week, and fingers crossed the reading slump is a thing of the past. Good morning. It is the 15th of August now, and in the last couple of days I finished 2 books. So the first one that I wanted to share with you is The Lady Doctor by Ian Williams, and I treated myself to this for my birthday money. I'm really getting into graphic novels, and this one has a really nice art style. It's quite pastel, but if you're a fan of This Is Gonna Hurt, I think you'll like this. It's very much one of those that shows Lady Doctor here as a real person, a real flawed person, and yeah, this just made me smile. There's a lot of, I think if you've worked in medicine, there's a lot of things in here that you'll just like hard relate to, and so I gave that 4 stars. And then a book that I pretty much started and finished within 48 hours is The Passing Playbook by Isaac Fitzsimmons, and this book was just gorgeous. I've actually rated this as a 4-star, but I think I'm going to have to bump it up to a 5 because I just keep thinking about it. So this is a 15-year-old Spencer, who I believe this is Spencer. Yeah. 15-year-old Spencer is a proud nerd, an awesome big brother, and a messy in training. He's also transgender, and this book was just perfect in the way that I'm very much into character driven. So the only reason I was going to bump this down to maybe 4.5-star, 4-star is because a lot of the plot is centered around football, and there were these kind of long passages when they were playing football, and it was kind of described play by play for a lot of it, and I wasn't a massive fan of that, but I still think I need to give it a 5-star because just the relationships, and Spencer's parents are beautiful, really beautiful parents. Like, oh, I don't even want to tell you too much about this book other than I really loved it. I really loved as well Spencer's little brother Theo is autistic, and just the way that he was treated in the book. And there is one bit when Spencer's a little bit kind of defensive for him, and I totally get that because I'm like that with my own brother. Like, I expect the worst of people and go to jump it in, and just the relationships in this book were just so good. And it talks a lot about privilege. Like, Spencer understands that he's quite privileged, that he's got understanding parents, and that shines throughout the book. For such a small book, actually it's like 300 pages, and yeah, I just flew through it. So yeah, I'm going to bump that up to a 5-star. I'm going to go and do that on Goodreads right now. Good morning. It is the 23rd or 24th of August. This is how I look in the morning. So no airs and graces on this channel, just yeah, gonna sort this out this afternoon. However, in the past few days I have finished 4 books, so I think I told you that I'm a bit of a mood reader, and I had about 8 half-finished books, so I decided to really knuckle down and finish them. So that's exactly what I've done. I, now looking over there, only have 4 on the go at the moment. No, oh, 5 on the go at the moment. 1 non-fiction, 1 middle grade, 1 YA fantasy, 1 YA contemporary, and 1 thriller. So read from that what you will. Oh no, I also have 1 on the go on my Kindle as well. Anyway, still finished 4 books. So the first one I'm going to talk about I don't have with me, and this is Coming Out Stories. Thank you to the publishers and NetGalley for gifting me this copy. I think that this is the kind of book that every teenager should read, whether they are gay, straight, not sure, somewhere in between, because the stories of coming out in this are mostly joyful. There are some parents that react badly, and also all the authors in it talk about the privilege that comes with being able to safely come out. And yeah, I just thought it was a brilliant book. It's the kind of book that should be on the curriculum, because we need to be able to tell teenagers that it's okay to be gay. What more can I say? So the next book I finished was Circus of Wonders by Elizabeth Macneal, and this was sent to me by Book Break, so thank you very much, Book Break. Firstly, how gorgeous is that cover? I am tempted to hold on to this. As you know, I don't collect hardbacks, but I am slowly starting to keep a few, and just look at that shiny. Anyway, you're not here to just marvel over shiny covers. So, Circus of Wonders, I really enjoyed this book, although I did find it... So basically, main character... When I say main character, it's from the perspective of 3 characters, and one of them, Nell, who is here, has birthmarks and is called the Leopard Girl. When she is in her hometown, she is kind of othered for these birthmarks, and she is sold by her father to Jasper Jupiter, who puts her as his main attraction in his circus. I really thought there was this kind of underneath, if you scratch below the surface a little bit from the kind of circus storyline, there is this underlying current of, like, I know obviously that freak shows were a thing, and actually this book gives a voice to the people in the circus, and also that kind of insidious, like, Jasper as a character, he really thinks that he is doing these people a favour, and yeah, I just don't know how to describe it. I only gave this a 4-star. I found it was really slow in parts, and I didn't see the value. I mean, I'm not into war fiction at all, and a lot of it was kind of flashbacks to their time in the Crimean War, and that just really slowed the plot down for me. But otherwise, I thought this was a really great book and well worth a read. The next book that I finished was Ali Mcnamara's Hope and Happiness in Bluebell Wood, and again, thank you to the publisher for sending me this. I'm getting really good at getting through the ones that I've been sent, because I don't feel guilty having this massive TBR, but if I've been sent a book, I'm like, I really want to read that. This book was the ultimate in fluffy books. Our main character, Ava, leaves her life in London and moves to the countryside, where she decides that she doesn't want to socialise with people, she doesn't want to get to know people, and I thought there was really, really great descriptions of her anxiety in this. I was there with her a lot of the time. However, obviously, she finds herself getting involved in village life, and yeah, there is also a sexy vicar. What more? What more could I say? Oh, and if I didn't say, I gave that one a 4-star as well. And the last book that I finished is Odd Girl Out by Laura James, and I listened along with this on BorrowBox. BorrowBox is a free app with my library. I think basically most libraries in the UK have an online service, so check yours out. It's free to join and free to use. This book was really, really, really good. I've given this one a 5-star. So this is Laura's memoir of being diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. She's diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and I think she was in her 40s when she was diagnosed, and it's all about coming to terms with that and what it means for her. And yeah, there's a lot in this that I could really relate to. I obviously don't have an autism spectrum disorder, or not that I know of, but I do have an anxiety disorder, and there was a lot of overlap in this that I could totally relate to. Laura also has EDS, which is a chronic physical illness, so I could relate to a lot of that as well. And I just think this is such a good book to pick up. Obviously in my new job I work with people with learning disabilities and on the autism spectrum disorder, so I'm trying to read as much as I can around the topic because that's just what I do. So if you have any other books that you would recommend to me around autism spectrum disorders or learning disabilities in general, please let me know below. Good morning. It is the 25th of August now. Hair, as ever, is just doing its own thing. I've got two quite disappointing books this morning. So, first one, Lustre by Raven Lelani. I'm actually DNFing this book because I just can't. I've really tried to keep picking it up and the chapters are too long for me. Like, I can see that this is probably a quite important book and if you're into literary fiction, but I just can't get through it. I can't get my brain to focus on it for long enough. And yeah, I think the fact that it's set in America as well, I've said before, I generally don't like American fiction, so it is what it is. And then the second book I don't actually have with me. This was a NetGalley ARC, so thank you to the publishers for accepting me for that. And where do I start? So the book in question is Take a Moment by Nina Kaye, which I will leave here. Firstly, Alex in this is a 5-star character. Alex, early on in the book, is given a life-altering diagnosis, and I cried at the way that Alex deals with that because she's so much like me. Like, I could really relate to that character. So that was like a 5-star character. The plot itself was probably about a 3-star. It was very basic, there was a lot of things that just... Okay, I also loved that it was set in Birmingham because I love anything set in Birmingham, but the plot was just, it was neither here nor there, like, and if it hadn't have been for this last thing, I think I would have said, yeah, I enjoyed it, you know, character was brilliant and the plot was okay. However, there is a plot line about a side character's mum who is unwell and she looks after her. And if you're going to read this book, this is spoilers now, but I have to talk about this because I don't like giving spoilers, but I can't illustrate my point without. So if you are looking to not hear these, just skip to the next clip where I'll be in a different outfit, most likely. That was a bit of a ramble. Anyway, so she's looking after her mum following a heart attack, and she then one day walks in on her mum having sex with some man. She doesn't confront her mum about it, but she looks at her mum's like hospital notes, and actually her mum didn't have a heart attack. It was ME, and so this character's like, oh, my mum's been faking it, she's been putting it on to get me to do everything for her. And I think there's such stigma already about illnesses like fibromyalgia and ME that this just didn't need to be there. If it was that her mum was faking it and there was nothing wrong with her, I could have probably got on board with that a little bit more. Or if the character had eventually like spoken to her mum and her mum was like, well, yeah, I do have ME and I didn't want to tell you that it was ME because I didn't think you'd take me seriously, and you know, it has peaks and troughs, and but yeah, it was never fully explained, and I really didn't like that. So that to me like brings this book right down to a 2-star, and I feel bad because, like I say, I really enjoyed the character, but just that little bit just ruined the whole thing because I hate books that shit on other illnesses. Like, I understand that Alex's diagnosis is something that can be seen on scans and whatever, but yeah, when we've already got stigma around ME, chronic fatigue, things like that, I don't think a book needs to add to that. So yeah. Good morning. think it's still morning. It is the 29th of August today. I don't know why I bother with the dates in this because I never get them right. Anyway, 5-star book that I finished is 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. This book was bloody fantastic. It's the first kind of COVID book that I've read, but it's a thriller. I'm still needing some distance between me and the medical memoirs, and I think that's because I was there. I worked on the wards throughout it. But this, all I needed to know was this line on the front, could this be the perfect murder? And on the back, locked down together, counting down to murder. And I was just like, yep, want to read that. So when I saw it on Readers First, thanks to a lot of you using my referral code, I had enough money to just buy a book. With Readers First, if you don't already use it, you can write a first impression where you collect points and you can enter the draw for the book. And when you've got so many points, you can just get a book. So I chose to get this one, and I am not disappointed. This book, I really don't want to tell you much about it. All I can say is the same with The Nothing Man. Catherine Ryan Howard is a bit like Clare Mackintosh to me, in that she manages to have all these things that make you have no idea what's going on, but without it being far-fetched, which, yeah, 5-star, brilliant. Also, side note here, does anyone else find the Goodreads email that says you have just finished insert book here just a ridiculous waste of like time and effort? Because I know that I've just finished it. I've just been on to Goodreads to tell you that I've finished it. So why are you emailing me saying I've just finished it? Anyway, 56 Days, 100% recommend, and it was a really good thriller. Good morning. So it is the 31st of August and I have finished what I believe will be my last book of the month. I am on a late shift today, so can't see me finishing anything else for this month. And this is the graphic novel of The Times I Knew I Was Gay. I bought this when I was in Oxford with Victoria, so if you want to watch that vlog, I will link it above. This book was just perfect, 5-star. I could relate so much to this. And it's one of those books that I think, especially if you were a closeted teenager, you will definitely relate to. I flew through it in one sitting and yeah, definitely recommend that one. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. If you have, please don't forget to like and subscribe below. Every person that subscribes to my channel absolutely warms my heart. As I'm filming this, I think I've just hit 1.6k and I cannot believe there is that many people watching this little channel of mine where I ramble about books. So until next time, look after yourselves and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!